the treasury broke and they say that recession jamming. So foreign countries really start migrating. They lose faith in the country, they say we gone down the drain. They say no more could we see happy times again. But the will to recover in my people like have confidence. Although many may seem to feel that I talk it nonsense, but the majority of we decide we're not going to run, because now is the time to show we patriotism. For we country facing is that is power. So our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember. We could make it if we try.
I want to say a pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Just a little harder.
And how are we doing this afternoon?
If we just
Another wonderful afternoon in Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique. It is Wednesday, the 23rd day of April 2025. It is an amazing day, right? I can tell you guys. I know on the faces of many of you guys, there is a broad smile, eh? And then be done. You're mad.
from the country we analyze just what was the problem. Yes, we start making very positive moves to solve them. We fire the old session managers we had working.
We are going to jump into our what's happening information right now. Don't forget, Green Screen Promotion. They present 50 Shades Darker, the day cruise on Sunday, the 27th day of July, 2025. Aboard the Kayak Princess, DJ Fishman, DJ Smiley, MC Big Joe International. Boarding time from 1, sailing time 2. Regular tickets are $85, VIP $300. Check out Chucky's Bar in St. George's, Spice Mobile in St. Andrews, and Sam in Guava, alright? On the 11th of May, Shy's Bar presents Shy on the Sea. That's the Mother's Day edition. Mothers, you pay $65. Regular tickets are $75. Aboard the Embassy, boarding time is from 2, sailing time from 3. DJ Effect, Song, Short Leg, Ice Kid, and Hasty HD, Selected J-Boy, 473 Rulers, and Bomb Squad. Get your ticket right now at Shy's Bar in Victoria, at Chucky's Bar, Licks and Bites in Guelph, Dr. Metro in Grenville, and Mellows Bar in Cités.
It's the same for people 10 days and cola they're taking. And without social unrest for people paying the price. Because they know for the country nothing too much to sacrifice. And if the country facing is that
The St. George's Northeast NNP Women's Group, they do a salsa sale on Saturday, May 3rd.
our fight to recover
Chicken foot and pig foot. That will be taking place in front of Nick Shops in Bolio, alright?
on your heart.
Starting from 6:30 a.m.
We could make it if we
So check them out, alright?
just a little high.
This Friday we at Victoria. Katian present hot seafood boil. And nothing like cat seafood boil, alright? $50 for a small. A large is $75. Contact her right now on 415-0024. That would be at St. George Park in Victoria under the white tent. Seafood, beer and music, alright? I will be there. Will you?
Anytime that we hear Trinbago is facing a crisis, as loyal citizens,
The St. Mark's Organization for Development, they continue with the events
so we still get good never.
for St. Mark's Day Fiesta, alright?
We're not deaf.
Tonight will be Returners Night, alright? That would be at the Festival Village starting from 7, alright?
Objection. But while outside I want
On on Thursday tomorrow in your yard. Bonfire Community Talent Clash and Tanya Law Competition.
And we must do what we can.
Starting also from 7. On Saturday morning, there's an health fair starting from 8. And the evening, you can have your heritage and cultural night starting from 7 in the PM. So check it out, all right? Check it out.
Okay, now I fight to recover.
And on Sunday, starting from 5, there will be a reservoir jam. More information will be given in a while. But family night would be at 7 p.m. at the Festival Village. That is also on George Park, all right?
If we just give one more.
South St. George. Sorry. St. Andrew Southeast. Youth they present on May 31st a cocktail and dance. I do have more information, so I would give you that information, all right? Next Wednesday, April 30th, After Work Line takes place at the headquarters of the new National Party. Starting from 4 p.m. Good vibes only, right? Food and drinks are on sale. On Saturday, Shaiba present White Out. From there, we hit the Reservoir Jam. In-house DJ. And we study mass from 9 on the 26th. Alright, so Shai's Bar present the Reservoir Jam that will be held on. Let me ensure that I stop that music. Right, good. Right, so Shai's Bar, he presents the Reservoir Jam that would be on the 27th. Yes, paint, foam, and mass. And anyone wishing to vend on road to Reservoir Jam and also within this venue are asked to contact Derry George, that is Shy, on 435-6004. Anyone not having a valid temporary license or a liquor receipt and also a receipt proof of payment from Shy would not be able to vend. All right, please do understand and check it out. And if you want to vend, you can. If it's food only, it's $50. And if it's food and drinks, then it's $150. And that drinks, we're talking drinks with alcohol, right? So you can definitely check him out right now. All that information there as it relates to the events that are upcoming. And many of you guys I know would be at St. Mark's Day weekend. So if you guys know anybody that is in the area and they may want to vend, let them know this is the procedure and they can check Shy, because you hold it on the program and you don't want the person get in any problem. All right, so the St. Andrew Southeast Youth they'll be doing their cocktail and Mega's Sports Shop, that's in Telescope, 8 p.m. Tickets are $35. Dress classy and trendy. Prizes: best dressed male and best dressed female couples of the night. Those things will be given away. All right, so you guys definitely need to check this one out. It's going to be a wonderful one, and I invite each and every one of you guys to be there. All right, there are already tickets available for Cats, for Katian's event, so you guys would have to check this one out. Right, with all that being said and all that being presented, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I know many of you guys are excited as I am. I am definitely excited. I am in full glee, as you would say in local terminology. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 of the caretakers for the new National Party have been announced. Please be mindful that caretakers are not candidates. Yes, but however, if persons within those constituencies would want to have any business concerning the party, those are the persons that you will be able to speak with. Yes, and those persons are as follows. Our wonderful lady from St. David's, Miss Nolan Thompson. Yes, she would be caretaker, which is currently representing in the lower house. By the other side, the Prime Minister is in the lower house, and so her role and function as caretaker would be the responsibility in St. David's. Mr. Christopher Diali, yes, South St. George, he would be responsible. Jelani Glean would be responsible for St. Patrick's West. and Amanda Japal, my friend for St. Patrick's Southwest. Yes, Southwest area is where Mr. Lennox Andrew is presently the parliamentary representative. Yes, so ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to each and every one of them. I pray each one of them all the best, and in going forward, they are given the opportunity, love, and respect like we would give to any one of our senior candidates or MPs or caretakers. Yes, congratulations, lovely, lovely young faces on board with the new national party. I am in, like, inside me is happy. Like yes, so I just want to say congratulations and all the best in going forward. I personally am giving all my support. Amanda Japal is definitely, I know, one of the persons that is going to continue doing the great job that she has been doing. Mr. Christopher Diali, Jelani Glean, a stalwart individual that have been always there and in and around for a lengthy period of time, and Miss Nolan Thompson. I want to say hats off to each and every one of you guys, and congratulations is definitely in order. I am starting today, and I am going to just jump on this conversation very brief. I want to say today's programming will be a very brief one, that I must say from the onset, because the event of the press conference would definitely be aired just before have been aired just before the program. So the area and so on, I definitely want to be there and have attended and so on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to just speak on something very briefly that I would have come across on social media when it comes to a statement that was made by the Prime Minister. And I want you guys to understand the manner in which, this person bring across the importance of everything. Let me say, everybody within your society can't be a doctor, can't be a lawyer, can't be a judge, can't be a police officer, and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, persons are going to be given tasks in which sometimes they're qualified for. And then at the same time, you can't keep the people or the persons that may not be able to meet the requirements of the scale, just turn your back on them totally. And when I heard what was said by the Prime Minister, and I didn't hear myself, but I saw somebody made the clipping of it, and I listened to it. And it shows you the manner in which this administration sees, how I should put it, persons of a lower class, or persons that are, well, not even a lower class, because I must admit I was a part of the program. Before being employed and getting out there, it basically assisted me, and I was in a position to assist my family, in pushing everybody a little further on. Yes, but anyway, listen to the statement that was made first, and then we're gonna deliberate on it.
Historically, look at the amount of money that has been allocated for debushing. The journalists in Grenada, take the estimates for the last 10 years, look at the annual allocation for debushing. In simplistic terms, you're cutting bush. Cutting bush for people who have vehicles. Because that's what you do. You're cutting bush on the side of the roads of vehicles, don't get bush to scratch them.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, a program like the Debushing program, that is not just a Grenadian program. For those of us who knows very well, this has been a Caribbean process. Most Caribbean countries has taken up the Debushing program as one that can aid in assisting persons of a more minimal class. Yes, meeting them at a point where we know that they can't be in the big offices, and they can get the everyday 8 to 4, 9 to 5. It basically assisted many persons in whom they would be able to meet their daily living, and you would understand the care and concern that the past administration would have had. And the Prime Minister is trying to downplay the debushing program, not understanding the significance of what he did. Because he's asking for persons to get the allocation amount between the years for the debushing program. So, the past administration, so what you're saying basically, the past administration did not look down on these persons. They gave them the opportunity to be a part of all that is happening within the state. And so, allocated fundings was made available for them, as small as it might have been. The past administration saw it fit to give to these persons the opportunity to be a part of the process of state. He sees it as just cutting bush. That is how he sees it. So I guess the cooks in the schools are just there to cook. And all they're doing is cooking for our children. Because he said he saw the bushing as just cutting bush so vehicles would not get caught. Like you would damage vehicles. But ladies and gentlemen, this in itself is also significant. Because it means the past administration also saw the importance, yes, of the care and concern for persons who are even motorists. Because there are some corners in Grenada. Grenada is not highways. So there are some corners that significantly needs that level of trimming or constant trimming, because we know that if bushes are grown at a certain height or length, it is hard for motorists to be able to traverse on the nation's road with due care and attention with the level of obstruction that might be placed in the areas. So when you listen to statements made of that nature coming from our Prime Minister, it simply means that there is nothing in the minds of these persons to aid or assist the persons of a minimal class. Because you removed it and you didn't put anything better. It is to my understanding there is a maintenance group, and this maintenance group work when they feel like. I had the opportunity to pass in Digo Peace, Fountain area, Redmond area. And ladies and gentlemen, I am certain that for the past 4 to 5 months, especially in the Fountain area, they have not seen any form of maintenance on the sides of the roads. And I am sorry that when I passed, that we didn't record the area. What we consider to be razor grasses have grown so tall that they start to look like cane. And I'm not exaggerating. And I'm sorry that I can get somebody in the area to maybe get me a picture. Well, maybe they clean it up by now, I don't know. Or if it is the same way. But it means that this is the Prime Minister saying to the nation, the past administration did proper allocation and funding for the debushing process. And you're castigating that the past administration saw it fit to ensure that our poor, minimal class of persons, and I really don't want to say poor class, because as I'm saying, I was one of the persons. And I know many others who was part of debushing programs. And he assisted many persons in areas whereby it was to put food on the table for some family members. Other persons saw it as a means of an extra means of revenue. Fishermen, yes, shop owners, bus drivers, utility workers, who saw it as important to make a little 10 days on the road and put a little $400-500 in their pockets. Small businesses operated in small and rural areas on that level because persons within that area was given the opportunity to make a little trust, as we don't say, a little credit in a little shop because they know I'm doing the little 10 days. Yes? So when I get it, I would be able to give, or when I get it, I could pay for. So even small communities and small areas, the little shops that would not see the regular spending in their areas, they would have been able to have 2 or 3 or 4 persons from the community that would have gotten a debushing program. Yes? And often, those that have the little rum shops and so on would see the men coming around and buy it a little 8s. Yeah? Buy a little 8s, buy a little quarter, buy a beer. And ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, it pushed our economy. Persons were able, so the vendors getting, the persons that are working had the opportunity to buy or purchase or whatever it is. And there was some means of economical drive when it comes to that. But we have the Prime Minister now castigating this and making the people believe, well, the debushing program was just cutting bush for vehicles to not get scratched. Him being a driver in Grenada at the time should be grateful. So maybe now he wants the grass to grow to the point where maybe the official vehicle that he is in, don't get scratched. I mean, which should get scratched. I am baffled sometimes when I hear our Prime Minister address some issues. And his expressions are normally slack, more or less, careless, fling hand, make up face, you know. So, when we hear that, ladies and gentlemen, it should tell us the mannerism in which these persons think or see the process of things like the debushing program and so on. Yes? But I wouldn't lengthen that because I want to spend a little time on something today because at the end of the day, as I always say, this is an administration, I believe, that clearly forgot many things that were said. Now, I heard Sister Daisy did thank Senator Honorable Claudette Joseph on the process of the persons in Carrico who received the redress. I haven't heard Miss Joseph on the matter as yet. And I am happy that Miss Daisy did use her words carefully, that it happened under her leadership. But Miss Daisy, I want to drift you back just about 2 years ago or so when this incident happened. And the now Minister of Legal Affairs was tasked with the responsibility to investigate that very said matter. And when it was investigated, quote unquote, by her, and let me not say quote unquote because I'm going to play the clip because I tell you they just forget. It was aired on a heartbeat program and it was made a news clipping from GBN. When they first seek redress and the matter was brought up, this is the same minister that said that there was absolutely nothing wrong after she carried out her investigation. Instead, you know what she did? She tried to turn it around based on the statement that was made at the time by the then president in saying what he said basically defamated the office of the individual or individuals responsible. So, when it was first investigated, this is the same minister responsible that said that there was absolutely nothing unjust about the act. And let me play the clip because I tell you already, as one person when I'm speaking, I just ensure that I do my investigation properly. Because when I heard the clipping, I immediately said, I thought this is the same lady that said nothing was wrong. So I did my investigation and I did go back. Thank God for YouTube. Yeah? There is 1.3K viewers for that clipping. So for those of you who don't remember, I was one of the person that remembered. And listen to what was said.
My investigation of the matter, there was nothing wrong and certainly nothing that rose to the level of victimization, and definitely no terrorist act. As I understand, it was described by one of the union officials.
Legal Affairs Minister and Minister for Labour, Claudette Joseph, responding to claims made during a recent press conference by President of the Public Workers Union, Brian Grimes. The union leader accused the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Carriacou and PT Martinique Affairs of victimization after one contracted employee was disengaged and some other workers were transferred. The Labour Minister was asked to look into the situation following her interaction with the union after they went public.
From my investigation of the matter, there was nothing wrong and certainly nothing that rose to the level of victimization, and definitely no terrorist act. As I understand, it was described by one of the union officials. In fact, to speak of a person, especially a senior public officer, in such manner might well amount to defamation.
So you see what was her concern? So when she carried out the investigation, she saw nothing wrong. But what Mr. Grimes would have said, she believed it amounts to defamation. You see how the legal thoughts, as I said, what it is? Transformational forgetfulness.
Grimes told the media that the workers had nothing on their files and were not given an opportunity to redeem themselves as required by the Public Service Regulation. However, the Labour Minister, who is also the Legal Affairs and Attorney General, explained the grounds under which these workers were relieved of their duties.
In the case of, I think, 2 or 3 of the officers, they were on contract. And in the contract, there was a clause that says that either party may terminate the contract on giving the other 1 month's notice. And in the case of the worker, 1 month's pay in lieu of notice will suffice. And so that's the right that any of the parties to the contract enjoy. And I understand in a couple of the cases, the contracts were ended under those termination clauses. And there would have been a background basis for so doing, ranging from non-performance of the duties under the contract, and in one case, leaving the government employment during the course of the workday to go and do other work.
The Attorney General says she is satisfied, based on all information she has received, that there was nothing wrong morally or legally in the steps taken. Minister Joseph was a guest on the NDC's weekly radio talk show program, Heartbeat.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it yourself. As I said, I don't want to be the one to basically say what was said. At the end of this clipping, there was more that was said. Until Brother Jerry Edwin questioned the position of the AG at the time and Minister of Legal Affairs. Because she went on to say that the persons were fired because they was not in agreement of the transformational agenda. GBN didn't bring it. But then when Mr. Edwin brought it up, it was aired. Because in his judgment, he believed that her judgment would be clouded based on the two positions, being a politician within the position and to have to act neutrally or mutually in the position as Attorney General. I say less, I would play more.
Should the Attorney General remain as the Minister of Labor? I think that our dear Prime Minister has a choice to make. Either Ms. Joseph sits as his Minister of Labor or the Minister in charge of the Attorney General's office.
Attorney at Law Jerry Edwin speaking in light of a recent statement made by Attorney General and Minister for Legal Affairs and Labor Claudette Joseph. According to him, the integrity of the office of the Attorney General has come into question.
The Minister of Legal Affairs states that persons are fired because they campaigned against the transformation agenda. I believe that my dear friend, Ms. Joseph, is speaking as a politician, which she is. And one wonders whether if the Prime Minister of Grenada needs some advice from the Attorney General as to the legality of the firing of those persons in Caracou, whether or not the Attorney General is capable of impartially giving the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, and by extension the people of Grenada, an opinion that is not politically biased.
Ms. Joseph recently addressed the firing and in some instances the transfer of some employees on the Sisteral Caracou as acting within the law.
As Attorney General, I am satisfied based on all the information provided that there was nothing wrong morally or legally in the steps taken, but that in fact those steps were taken in furtherance of the transformation agenda of this government. Because in one particular case, the person was actively campaigning against the transformation agenda.
Wow.
So,
You guys heard that? You guys heard that? So in one case, she saw nothing morally and legally wrong in the same statement. In the same statement. She saw nothing morally wrong. How can you say to me that it is not morally wrong for somebody, a grown individual, whose constitution gives them the right to have their opinion on choosing a government? So I have all my subjects, I have all my education. It is up to me to decide a government. And I may campaign saying, I am not for or I am against the government's decision. And you would push aside all my qualification, all on the basis that I campaigned against your government. And there is nothing morally wrong about that. Will something have to be morally wrong with our Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General? And I come back to the case because I want you guys to understand that all the loudness that you heard, you see how they went out and they defended the fact that persons were fired and there was no issue, and they took it to heartbeat program and that program, and you heard them. You heard them when those things happened. But now that these persons have seek redress and have won, there is utter silence among them. Because she saw nothing morally and legally wrong. But here you are, close to 2 years thereafter, and there is redress, and there is persons given severance, and all these things. So who was wrong initially? So when Brother Edwin questioned the position of the AG in our country, we didn't see a few years down the road what he was saying. And here we are now that we can view it or review it, that what the Attorney General said and Minister of Legal Affairs was a blatant lie. Because at the end of the day, if you saw nothing moral and legal about it, why 2 years later there are persons that are now rejoicing over the decision that was made? And ladies and gentlemen, there is more. Because let me play another one for you. This one from another attorney.
Karen K. Simon, a former legal officer with the Attorney General's chambers, contracted by the previous New National Party government, has won a significant legal battle following her abrupt termination by the National Democratic Congress NDC administration. Simon was initially contracted from December 1st, 2019 to November 30th, 2021 and entered a second contract for the period December 1st, 2021 to November 30th, 2023. She was formally appointed on February 22nd, 2022 by the Governor General of Grenada, acting on the advice of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. In October 2022, mere months after the NDC administration took office, Simon was issued a letter of termination with immediate effect by Ms. Anna Brizan, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Legal Affairs, stating that her services were no longer needed. On February 20th, 2023, Brizan issued a second letter, this time cancelling the earlier termination and informing Simon of a new termination effective immediately based on the Judicial and Legal Services Commission recommendation. She was also informed that she would be paid her service fee through March 2023. Simon filed a constitutional motion on August 21st, 2023, seeking declaration that her termination violated Section 88(2) of the Grenada Constitution. The High Court ruling by Justice Agnes Acti found that Simon's dismissal violated Section 88(2) of the Grenada Constitution, rendering the termination null and void. Ruling in Simon's favor, government was ordered to pay the fee for the unexpired term of her contract with the government of Grenada for the period April to November 2023, inclusive of interest at the rate of 3% from the date of filing the claim until judgment and at the rate of 6% from the date of judgment until payment is full. The NDC administration is also ordered to pay Simon vindictory damages in the sum of $20,000 for distress and inconvenience. Legal representative for Ms. Simon, Ruggles Ferguson, spoke to the news team about his client's recent victory.
The total judgment sum will be in the region of $120,000 plus interest, which accumulates daily on the judgment sum. There was an attempt to settle this matter because we contended very early that her termination was in violation of Section 88 of the Constitution, which in a sense protects public officers and avoids or prevents them from being terminated in the very manner that Ms. Simon was terminated.
According to Ferguson, there are several similar cases against the current government presently within the justice system, some of which are awaiting judgment.
In this case, K. Simon was a legal officer and she was protected by Section 88 of the Constitution. We do have other matters pending, and in fact, there is one awaiting judgment, and that has to do with the what is challenged as the unconstitutionality of the termination. So from the standpoint of one, termination, and two, challenges on the basis of the constitutionality and the validity of the termination, they may be similar.
The lawyer explained that while employers have a right to terminate an employee, it must be done fairly.
An employer has the right to terminate, or the power to terminate. It just has to be done in the proper manner. And of course, it must also be done fairly. One has to be mindful that there is constitutional protection. Whatever the power that be, whichever government is there, it matters not, because the same constitutional protection remains. On at the end of the day, you must be fair. And once there is fairness involved, the greater you will be protected.
Rena P. Thomas, GBN News.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was 8 months ago. I'm certain this is the first time some of you guys are hearing it. Yeah. So this is a sum of $120,000 based on dismissals. Remember when this incident started happening, on this very said program, I said when the governments have to pay money, or they go start a ball. In the circumstances of the other persons, I think their own is ranging to about $168,000. I am subjected to correction, but let me just play the clipping for you.
Known as the Carriacou Five, were unjustly dismissed from their work site in Carriacou. Without delay, they brought their case to the Public Workers Union, PWU. Speaking at the PWU headquarters on Tuesday, President Daisy Hazard announced the resolution of the nearly 3-year-long dispute, calling it a major victory for workers' rights and a significant step forward in addressing employee grievances.
They have received some redress through the mechanism of the Ministry of Labor. I am talking about a group of women, 5 of them, who have come to be known as the Carriacou Five.
Government spent a total of $168,000 in recompense to the 5 members. President Hazard expressed deep gratitude to everyone who played a role in resolving the matter, giving special recognition to Minister for Labor, Claudette Joseph, for her dedication and unwavering support throughout the process.
I want to thank the Ministry of Labor, Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph. I've already offered you my personal congratulations, my expressions of thanks, because it has been done under your leadership. Sister Sparkle Courtney Grenade Courtney, our Labor Commissioner, who is also a member of the Grenada Public Workers Union, you did the work. You did the job that was required in following the process and following the rules to bring back these women their severance benefits, which properly they should have received in 2022. The law also speaks to how, if a worker is dismissed, how they should be paid, when they should be paid, by what time, and if they bring a grievance matter before the Ministry of Labor, the number of days within which that matter should be heard and resolved, whether it's a positive outcome or a negative one, understanding that they've lost their jobs. It took almost 3 years. So April 2nd, 2025 was when I received a letter from the Labor Commissioner.
After receiving payments for their vacation days and other benefits that had been improperly withheld, Hazard reminded the public that the union executive is always ready to support workers facing unfair treatment.
And we want to encourage workers, where you have grievances, where you've been dismissed unfairly or you believe so, come to the union. Many of you have grievances and you do not come. And we are not certain why, but where workers come to the union, their grievances are dealt with. We are aware as well that there were other workers besides the 5 who used other mechanisms and were also successful. And that is the encouragement to workers. The system works. the process work.
The Public Workers Union remains steadfast in its commitment to advocating for and defending the rights of its members. For MTV News, Kadisia Franklin.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there, and Miss Daisy is basically giving each and every one of you guys the opportunity who have been victimized some way or the other to come into the Public Workers Union and seek your redress. Yes? All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there. You heard it there yourself. And I brought this to light today for the reason thereof that many of you guys must understand that when we would have, in a very early stage, said that what was being done and the manner in which it was being done was morally wrong and legally wrong. I remember saying, I have no issues with government dismissing persons. But the manner in which some of these things was being done, a man go to work Monday, he had to go to, he going home Wednesday. A man leave work Friday evening, and he was given a letter Monday, and some persons are on holidays and was met and was given letters of dismissal. Everything was just not sitting right. And here we are 2 years thereafter. This is in excess of more than what? We're talking about $188,000. Sorry, $288,000. Having to be paid by this administration in just about 2.5 years because of incorrect dismissal, victimization, and improper processes that would have happened under this administration. How can you say to me that these persons must remain in office and still be responsible for making decisions when it comes to the state? It is not sitting right with me. When you could have the Minister of Legal Affairs and the Attorney General coming and say that there was absolutely nothing wrong. The only thing she will focus on is that Mr. Grimes would have defamated the office of the Permanent Secretary. That is all she would have basically said. So much of headlines. You remember when they called the minister in Carriacou, what they called him? They called him the hatchet man. Yeah? When they called him the hatchet man. On one of the programs, and he laughed and he giggled. Yeah? And it was a joke to them. And today, the state is now suffering. The state's purse is now suffering because of the hatchet man and them. Yeah? So when we see this level of irresponsibility, we must first question whether or not these persons must still remain in office to be responsible for the decision making in our state. They tell you I curse the police. Yeah, I curse the police. I curse the police. I hear they call you the hatchet man. Yeah, man, the hatchet man. And you laugh because you're so irresponsible. And you lack the level of understanding that you did not even understand what you did when you did what you do. And today, the state is suffering because of that to $168,000 because of your hatchet man behavior and your irresponsible concern when it comes to the employers of this country. You laugh and you giggle. So we must understand, and I understand what Miss Daisy would have said. Under her leadership, it happened. But Miss Daisy, under her very said leadership, she was not willing to do a proper investigation. Instead, there were persons there that was campaigning against the transformational agenda. This is what she believed was important, to get somebody fired. It was morally correct to do that. telling me these persons are on their P and Qs, that they're functioning at a level that you and I are on balance terms? The irresponsibility, and even within the minister or the minister's portfolio or office, she too would have had somebody within her office seeking redress and earning $120,000 because of unconstitutional decision made in the office of the Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General. Can you imagine that? The office that is expected to know what the Constitution and the laws of the state says, even persons within our office is being unconstitutionally dismissed, and they're seeking redress and win. So the young person was dismissed and they won the case under the office of the Ministry of Legal Affairs. But they put in you to investigate matters in Carriacou. And even within your office, you too are doing things that are unconstitutional and illegal. And so when Mr. Edwin is asking for you to be removed from the position, I strongly second that. Because it is now evident that even within your ministerial position, you are not even knowledgeable enough to know what the law says to even have somebody dismissed. So you dismiss somebody illegal even within the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Can you imagine that? The Ministry of Legal Affairs unconstitutionally dismiss somebody. How? The ministry that is responsible for ensuring that every legitimate and legal decision be made as it relates to what is constitutionalized. They too are in default. Yes? So if the boss on work don't know how to operate things on his work, he shouldn't be the boss. If my mother is asking me to use certain things, or my father, and he doesn't know how to use it himself, that is in the house, well, better you. But that is going to show you, ladies and gentlemen, the level of incompetence that has been spread far and wide through the portfolio of senatorial and ministerial roles in Grenada. Simple like that. We need to see that even persons with the role given, they can function within it, because they themselves are defaulting in it. You have a minister of government who is expected to be morally correct. He's coming on national television. They say, I caused the police. Yes, I caused the police. And my son and daughter, who is 15 and 14, is supposed to sit down and listen to what a minister says, I caused the police. And then tomorrow, my son calls the police, and I go to the station, and he says, well, Daddy, I don't see nothing wrong with that, because the minister says he calls the police, so who is me? We don't understand what we do when we do what we do. And we do it on the basis because we're a jefe. And in some circumstances, it's because of the level of incapacitated dullness or illiteracy and comprehension within an ignorant mind is why we make those mistakes. And for those of you guys realize that I use so much a big word, that is what we call stupidity in local terminology. When you act in a foolish manner, you get redressed like this, because your behavioral pattern in its initial stage simply indicated that you were ignorant and you act out of arrogance. Yes? And hence the reason why you are getting the state's purse involved in more than $200,000 in disarray. something that could have been used to buy the net for the sarcasm that is coming in. Can we, should we, must we continue to have this level of illiteracy, incompetence, high-handed behavior continue within our state? In persons who are selected and elected to act in the capacity that we know that should be morally and legally correct. I want to extend that I had a conversation yesterday right here on the program where I said that I pray that our minister, our political leader, I am so ready to call her prime minister. Yeah, am I ready? Yeah, yeah, our political leader takes the initiative to meet with the persons within the electoral office and those offices. Yes, and I must report. And you see how fast we does work. you see how fast my honorable member does work. Maybe while I was here yesterday and I was asking that the political leader do that, already she was on the ground doing it. Because you see, great minds think alike. I'm hoping that she's watching. Great minds think alike, because I'm certain that the time I was saying that yesterday, the political leader was in the process thereof. And she would have posted yesterday. Today I visited the office of the supervisor of elections to follow up on several important matters, including the status of outdated voters register system, and the new system is essential to ensure greater efficiency, transparency, and accuracy in the electoral process. Yes, and so it was made available yesterday on the political leaders page, in where she both visited and have a conversation thereof, and also a number was posted. I like when she take it out. Maybe it was the intention to take her out, but I'm glad you guys get the number. So the number is 440-2357 or 2698, just in the circumstances whereby you may want to call and find out what is what. So, commendation. You see that? You see people at work? You see that? And then today, not too long after, we are proud to present to this nation, yes, 4 of our caretakers. Simple like that. That is the process, ladies and gentlemen. That is how political organizations operate. Yeah? Not tell us what all you are planned. Tell us what all you are planned. Tell us what all you this. Where are you candidate? Why do you have a convention? You see, those things are what you call temperament. Yes? You have the level of temperament to not go along with the crowd. Yeah? Oh, have a convention. We waited. We weren't going to listen to the noise. We just lost a general election. We have to gather ourselves. Who wanted to go, who wanted to stay. Let's see where we stand. And then we clean out the house. Christmas cleaning. We did a little Christmas cleaning. And we get rid of a few galvanized. We get rid of a few chairs in the yard. We cut the grass. We end up putting up a few new barriers and so on. And so we decided we're going to get new persons to put in the different apartments, because the apartments are empty. And so with this today, we got new tenants. So in the mansion, there have been 4 selected caretakers. Yes? And so we're happy the process. And this is the process of how politics goes. Conventions. Yes. Meetings. Yes. You check your voters list. You check with your caretakers. You let the public know who your caretakers are, and you start the process as we head on to the next general election. Tell me this is not a party that is functioning on the mine of experience and knowledge. The noise in the market is not the sale of the fish. I decided today I would have just done about 45 minutes. I just realized that I hit the hour mark plumb on the head. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say it is important that we function in the right process in going forward. St. Patrick's West, St. David's, South St. George, St. Patrick's West. You guys have been given your caretakers. You know who they are. We're asking you in going forward to support them. Give them the love, give them the information, all that is happening, because most of them might have been around, but there are certain processes that they may not be too au fait with. And so we're asking you guys who are senior members within the constituencies, within the polling division, within registration, and knowing all that has to happen. Yes, the processes of maybe when we have to get buses and who have contacts, and support them, sit with them, talk with them. Yeah? And let's keep moving, because that is what we intend to do. Yes? So ladies and gentlemen, again, it was a pleasure being in your company, having given you the information that I've given you. I pray, God, that with every strength that is within us, that we continue to work for the new national party. We continue to ensure that our conversation is not a confusion. Yes, that our lecture should be our legacy. And as we continue to move forward, we should not fight, but we should stand firm. With that being said, I want you guys to have yourself a wonderful evening. God's blessings to each and every one of you. Again, it was a pleasure. Good evening to each and every one of you. Catch you back here again, maybe on Monday next, as we continue to forge on. See you guys in Victoria over the weekend. I'll be over in Victoria over the weekend. I have a little bar, so if you guys are wanting to have a drink, you guys can check it out. All right? Yeah? So God's blessings to each and every one of you. Go with God. Go with your blessings and continue to shine as the beautiful Grenadian that you are.
So the treasury broke and they say that we second jamming. So foreign countries really start migrating. They lose faith in the country, they say we gone down the drain. They say no more could we see happy times again. But the will to recover in my people like have confidence. Although many may seem to feel that I talking nonsense, but the majority are we decide we're not going to run, because now is the time to show we patriotism. For we country facing is that is power. So our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember. We could make it if we try, just a little harder. If we just get one